The massive sell-off that we had last week has put Microsoft stock in big danger in my view, and this is no longer the time to be buying the dip on this particular stock. Previously, we drew in this parallel channel, and we said if you fail to hold these levels, then it's going to look really ugly for Microsoft, since you've been holding this parallel channel, this uptrend, for several years since the 2022 bear market, essentially, and now that you've broken down from there, that's a really worrying sign, and to me, it says you're probably entering a cyclically bearish period where the stock has to give back quite some of its gains that it had on this massive run. If we throw on the indicator here, you can see that we had a sell signal and a sell-off. Previously, when you had a sell signal, you did get back down to the bottom of the parallel channel, but you managed to bounce from it. So now that we've broken down below that, I would not be fading this move and buying the stock. That seems like a pretty poor decision. Of course, you can get relief rallies and recovery bounces as we're trying to have today, but realistically speaking, the most upside I think you could even hope for here would be coming back to the bottom of the parallel channel around $400, $396 or so, and I think that's probably not the most likely scenario, a 10% move to the upside. That being said, there can be some brief relief rallies in bear markets, but I've got a couple of other charts to show you. If we take a look at Microsoft over the S&P, this is a ratio, and to me, this is very telling of the price action that you've had. You've had this massive parallel channel going way back, all the way back here to the dot-com bubble, essentially, in 2000. That was the previous time you had such a high on Microsoft. Now, you did come back down to lower levels and then managing to once again trade up massively. But if we draw in a parallel channel, it looks to me like you've basically been tagging the top end of this parallel channel and it sent us back down on this particular ratio. So what does that mean? It means if we were to head back down to the bottom of the parallel channel or even potentially below it on the Microsoft versus S&P ratio, you could be looking at a further 26% downside or so compared to the market. Now, the market may also sell off. So while this is only a minus 20% move down on the ratio, you might be having a bigger down move on Microsoft itself if the S&P is also selling off in a big way. If you have a 15% move down in the S&P, this could mean a 40 or 50% move down on Microsoft from current levels. So just keep that in mind. And if we do take a look at Microsoft once again, then we could maybe look at this potential swing low that you had in the 2022 bear market. That might be the most optimistic point at which you get a bounce from the bottom of the parallel channel on the relative valuation ratio. So I'd be looking at $215. Probably I wouldn't be stepping in to buy the stock until you get to those levels at the very least, because I think you're having a more extended bearish period coming here for Microsoft. So I would be very careful. You can try to time bounces, but generally speaking, I'm not very good at that. I prefer to just buy once the trend is reversing, once there is a consolidation and a base forming, which is not happening yet. If we look at Microsoft over the QQQ, it's also a very similar story to what you had on the S&P. You traded up to these highs, pretty similar to what you had in the dot-com bubble again, not quite as parabolic, but you did tag the top of this parallel channel and you're now heading back down to the bottom. So you have had quite a bit of the move already, but again, 26% further underperformance compared to the indices. That is a big deal, and certainly a reason I think not to be trying to catch the falling knife. That is Microsoft just yet. There will, I'm sure, be a good entry point. It's not like the stock is likely to go bankrupt or anything like that, but you probably do have some more downside coming. Of course, if you're happy to just weather the storm and buy the dips as they come, then you can feel free to do that. But I would personally be waiting for this ratio to bottom out and for Microsoft to put in a bit more technical strength, perhaps a buy signal on my indicator and this kind of stuff. But with that being said, I hope these charts were informative and helpful for you. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe as always for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.